Welcome, dear viewers in Djibouti channels. Here are the headlines of our news editions today. Arrival of the president in Tunisia, many agreements signed between Djibouti and Tunis during the official visit of the head of state in Tunisia. On continental news, ocean heritage threatened by fighting and looting in Libya. That were our top stories. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, began this morning his official visit of 2 days, where he was welcomed at the Presidential Palace of Carthage by his Tunisian counterpart. Red carpet national anthem of two countries set up by the band of guards of honor. He was welcomed with the honors due his rank. The President of the Republic held the various troops of the maritime land, and here the head of state had an interview with his Tunisian counterpart in presence of two Minister of Foreign Affairs, followed by an extended interview between the two delegations. After the national anthem, the two heads of state made a press statement during this conference. The Tunisian president welcomed his Djiboutian host, and the two heads of state had talks to exchange ideas and experience in order to improve and deepen the bilateral relations between the two countries. Proof of will of two leaders for the implementations of the agreement signed this morning after extensive consultations among the ministers of foreign affairs. The two countries signed several agreements in various fields. The Tunisian president said that Djibouti is in geostrategic positions to accommodate the power pace in the two. He pointed out that a joint committee between the two countries was created in 2010, and it should resume its work to improve contact and visit between the two brothers' country. For his part, the head of state thanked the president of the receptions he received and his delegations. After this ceremony of welcome, the president agreement in the two presidents had and discussions that they discussed about the relationship. The head of state had an interview with his Tunisian counterpart in the presence of two foreign ministers' affairs. The two head of state spoke at their meeting to further strengthen the bilateral relations between the two countries in several areas, namely the post information and telecommunications, as well as the digital economy, the visa exemptions for diplomatic and special passport. On the one hand, the signing of an executive program for cultural cooperation for the year 2019 until 2021. The President of Tunisia welcomed his counterpart, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, and his delegations. For his part, the President Head Office, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, thanked his counterpart for the warm welcome he was given. The President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, and the President of Tunisia, Mr. Beji Eid Essebsi, signed this Wednesday 3 agreements on cooperation in the sector of maritime transport, port, tourism, craft. The Memorandum of Understanding will also sign the first relating to the area of the post, telecommunication, information and the digital economy, the second relating to the visa exemptions for diplomatic and special passport, and the signing of an executive program for cultural cooperation for the year 2019-2021. On the other hand, in the field of post, information technology and communication and digital were initiated by Mahmoud Ali Yusuf and Humais Al-Juhinawi, and his field of crafts we signed Djiboutian coast by the Minister Delegated Charge of Tourism, Mr. Hassan Ahmed Ibrahim, and his counterpart, Mrs. Salma. The President of the Republic, His Excellency, began this morning his official visit of 2 days, where he was welcomed at the Presidential Palace of Carthage by his counterpart, the red carpet and national anthem. After that, the 2 presidents were participating of ceremony of signing an agreement, series of an agreement between the responsible and the member of government and their counterpart in Tunisia. After that, the Tunisian president welcomed the president of Djibouti in his speech and said that this visit reflects the friendship and cooperations between the 2 countries in various fields, before expressing his satisfaction with the role of Djibouti in the stability and strategic positions in the East Africa. During this conference, the Tunisian president welcomed his Djibouti host and the 2 heads of state talks to exchange ideas and experience in order to improve and deepen the bilateral relations between the 2 countries. The Tunisian president say that it's in a geostrategic position to accommodate the power base in this authority. He pointed out that a joint committee between the 2 countries was created in 2010 and it should resume its works to improve contact and visits between the 2 brothers countries. For his part, the President of the Republic, Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, expressed his thanks to the government and the Tunisian people for the hospitality and the warm welcome of which he received his delegation that was with him since their arrival on Tunisia territory. Tunisia-Djibouti relations are historic, and we congratulate the considerable progress made in recent years in view of the common interest of both countries. During the discussions we have had, we agreed to move forward to straighten these relations in the coming period, as well as the latest development in the Arab world and the national area, the mutual interest, the growing challenges facing our country needs serious interrogations and reinforce the different field mechanism. The President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohammed Ali Hamad, received this morning the International Committee of Human Rights in the living room of the National Assembly. The President of the Assembly welcomed them and explained the role played by parliamentarians in the democracy of the country, because it's the representations of the people. The delegation met with the President of the Assembly to know the major advance of democracy in the territory of Djibouti. The delegation had explanations on the different achievements and laws that govern the right in the representations of the people. It's the mirror of democracy. The President of the Assembly thanks the entire delegation for their visit, and the audience closed with a family photo. The corporation's agreement and memorandum of understanding signed today, as well as the business forum to be held on the sideline of the visit, reinform the common will the two countries. Finally, he expressed our gratitude for their role in stabilization and promotion the development. The Ministry of Agriculture, Water, Livestock and Fisher Resource, in close collaboration with UNICEF and USAID, organized a workshop for the validation of the framework document of the National Contingency Plan, sectoral water, hygiene and sanitation, known as the WASH acronym, at the Sheraton Hotel this morning. The objective of this workshop was to update the contingency plan. It's part of the national mechanism in Palace of Risk and Disaster Management. The main objective of the national plan is to improve the quality of preparedness and the response of emergency interventions provided to population affected by any kind of various crises in the water sector, but also in sanitation. This contingency plan will undoubtedly strengthen the national level of preparation. It serves to anticipate but also to solve the problem that would occur during disaster. Also note that this contingency plan name, which is a tool that needs to be updated by all parties involved from near or far on the regular basis. Also participating in this workshop were Regional Council President of the Interior Region, the representative of FAO, the European Union, as well as the SAR, the National Agency of Meteorology, as well as the civil society. The ambassador of the Arab Republic of Egypt accredited to Djibouti, Mr. Ahmed Adil Subhi, organized last night of his residence receptions, making the 66th anniversary of glorious revolutions of July 23, 1952. The festivities, which were held in the gardens of the ambassador residence, brought together the Minister of Islamic Affairs, Culture, Mr. Momin Hassan Barre, as well as the Minister of Housing Environment, Mr. Musa Muhammad Ahmed, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and International Corporations, Mr. Muhammad Ali Hassan, the Chief of the General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, also the Director of National Security, Mr. Hassan Saeed Khairi, and many members of the diplomatic corps accredited to our country, as well as a group of businessmen also attend the ceremony. As a reminder, it was the night of July 22 to 23, 1952, that a group of officers overthrew King Farouk and seized power. Egypt became a republic, and the 23rd of July is now the day chosen to celebrate the national holiday. The participants took this opportunity to offer their congratulations to the Ambassador Ahmed Subhi, welcoming the great progress made by Egypt in various fields. The Minister of Islamic Affairs, Mr. Momin Hassan Barre, was represented. The Djiboutian government affirmed the will of the government to strengthen the fraternal relations with the Arab Republic of Egypt, as well as cooperation and coordination in the various fields. The Djiboutian minister stressed that these relations had developed under the directions of the President of the Republic, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh, and his Egyptian counterpart, Mr. Adel Fattah al-Sisi. The Minister of Islamic Affairs Culture took the opportunity to congratulate the Egyptian government and people on the occasion of 66th anniversary of the glorious revelations of July 23, 1952. And now let's move on continental news. Italian Foreign Minister announced a conference on Libya on 12 and 30 November in Palermo. He said discussions will focus on inclusive approach to stabilize the country torn apart by violence and wars of influence. Libya is ruled today by the two rival entities, the National United Government, which emerged from UN process and is based in Tripoli, and a rival authority based in the east, supported by a parliament and a directed military forces by Marshal Khalifa Haftar. This peace conference will aim to identify the steps of a stabilization process. The minister told the Senate the goal is to achieve a common solution, even if there are a difference of opinion between the different parties, said Milanese, who he received the confirmations of interest of the Marshal Khalifa Haftar and support from the United States, adding that he intends to discuss the issue with his Russian counterpart Sergei Lavrov on Monday in Moscow. No deadline will be imposed on Libya, he says. Emmanuel Macron lost his arm wrestling with his Minister of Interior. The President finally accepted Gérard Collom's resignation last night after the number 3 of the government 5 weeks ago. It's the turn of the number 2 to leave the ship. The Council of Ministers will be without him, where last night General Gérard Collomb assured to remain in office until when finds a replacement for him. It's expected that the Prime Minister Edouard Philippe will act as the first police officer in France. Early support of young Emmanuel Macron, Gérard Collomb had to submit his resignations twice to the head of state, arguing that he wanted to take over the directions of the city of Lyon. Here we arrive at the end of this news. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.